You know? And they said, I thought that was my plan. And then I got my draft notice. And then they said, oh, well, we could probably get you in. I said, this is in June. And graduate school starts in September or August.
Yeah,
August.
right then.
I said, that can't happen. Well, they got me into graduate school. So I went to graduate school in Toronto.
That's interesting. So if you wouldn't have got drafted, you probably wouldn't have went to graduate school.
Probably wouldn't.
What
Yeah.
was your BA in?
Social welfare.
Okay, and then you got your MS.
And that's how I know now. And then when I went to graduate school in Toronto, I went like a California guy. I'd never given up my car before. I had to give up my car. My mother kept it and drove it. And I had to give up my car. I'm a California guy without a car. I'm going to Toronto. 3 million people. And I know anybody, one person. And not have a car. What kind of guy was I? What kind of guy was the guy that had a car?
Right, right.
You know?
Did you have to give up your Birkenstocks too?
No, I didn't have Birkenstocks. But I did have jeans,
Right.
white t-shirt,
Uh-huh.
clipboard with some paper on it, pencil behind my ear, right? And a pack of cigarettes rolled up my sleeve.
Of course.
Greaser.
Irresistible.
Literally.
Authentic.
His grandma kind of a soup.
Dad, the University of Toronto is a pretty competitive school. How did you get in there?
God, I don't know. This guy's got me in there. My friend who I knew from Toronto, I shared a room with, or a house for a while.
Was this Lou
Lou
Stutzer?
Stutzer,
Oh.
and Professor Eisenberg got me in there.
Was Eisenberg at Sac State or at?
Sac State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially.
Another, yeah. And Lou Stutzer had gone to school and knew some of the faculty, so he really opened. And I thought, if I'm going to go, the other professor said, I can get you into Pittsburgh, the Functionalist School of Social Work in Pennsylvania. But I thought, I'd rather go with Lou because at least I know somebody that I lived with. If I go to this other place, I'll be really on my own, and, you know. So I went there to Lou, and that was great. But if you could picture a guy like that, right, with the cigarettes up here, right?
Like you really did
Michael
that?
James
Oh
Dean.
yeah.
Yeah,
that
well,
was
James
Did you
Dean.
guys read the
That time.
Outsiders in middle
Yeah.
school? He was a
James
greaser,
Dean.
totally, and Grandma Eleanor was a soch.
What is
Yeah,
this so?
right. That, you know,
They're like the society girls.
yeah,
What is that?
Eleanor was a sight, white gloves
Pedal
and you know, the whole
pushers.
thing. And then,
Listen to
The
the Billy
skirts,
Joel
the
video,
thing.
Like in
Uptown
Greece?
Girl.
Yeah. Where?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, just like in
So you're
Greece.
like James Dean.
yeah, and he was my hero. Yeah, I love James Dean. I used to go there in the
So it was like a
Hollywood
Greek
Bowl,
story.
And then, yeah, and where he goes up to the building, yeah.
Mm.
And I drove by where he died.
He's a good dancer too.
So,
Oh.
I think I'll go back to that. Okay, so I go to Toronto looking like that. How do you think everybody else looked in graduate school?
Suits.
Ties.
And,
Button-up shirts and
probably like
slacks,
James
right?
Dean.
Yeah, French cuffs,
Yeah,
white black briefcases.
yeah.
And then there's you.
And then there's me.
But they probably smoke too, right?
They may have smoked, but they didn't put them on their, you know.
Yeah.
And they had French
Marbles.
cuffs, and you know.
Yeah,
What is this? You know?
yeah.
And then some Jewish woman, I didn't know if she was Jewish was, but anyway, some Jewish woman asked me, do you have a winter coat? Well, I got a coat, you know, like this, right? No, you got to have a real winter coat. Well, then she said, I'm going to give you a coat. Well, she gave me this coat that went to the ground.
The overcoat. sort of
Yeah,
thing.
all wool.
Yeah.
This sucker was so heavy that your shoulders go, right? And then I thought, no wonder everybody here's, you know, wearing these heavy coats.
Right.
I said, really that cold here? She said, yeah. I mean, you know.
You
So I
had
was
no
like the welfare
idea.
client in the graduate school.
How did
Yeah.
you do in graduate school?
For a while I did pretty good, and then I didn't do very good. And then they were going to kick me out because I didn't use the King's or Queen's English.
Oh. Huh.
Have to be well spoken.
Yeah. and you have to be well read, and you have to write properly. And the spelling has to be in English, British spelling.
Oh,
What's
right.
the
Flavor.
The OU.
Colour.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? And I had the same problem with Eleanor's parents when, you know, like, I want some oatmeal. Well, that's not the way you eat oatmeal. You don't put brown sugar on it. What do you use? Well, you use milk and white sugar, not butter and brown sugar. And if you drink a beer, you don't drink it out of the can. You drink it out of the glass.
That's right.
I said, well, I don't know about you guys, but I drink it this way. You may I sit on the couch, you may sit on the Davenport.
Right.
You know, I said, you know, I may eat oatmeal and you mean porridge. But that doesn't make me wrong and you're right. It just makes us different.
Uh-huh.
And that, I mean, you know, that it tells you a lot about what Eleanor got.
Right. Yeah, well, yeah.
But she may not have seen all that, but she got.
Yeah, you must have been a nice contrast in that house. You know, like, because she didn't really know the other side. She hadn't seen
No.
anything else, right?
No,
Yeah.
she never met my family till we got married.
Mm.
And she's never been to California with me. So take your time, know your partner, know their parents, because the partner is not going to be too much different from their mother and father.
Mhm.
It's, you know,
What was that?
the partner they pick is not going to be too far from their mother and father.
Oh, let's ask Elise.
Don't put her on the spot.
Or Dad.
I'm not worried about Elise.
I'm not either. In fact, I think, Derek, that you're more like Eleanor, and Cindy has more traits like me.
I think so too.
They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Trees.
That's good. Well, should we stop for today
that's
there? Is that, yeah?
You're a good storyteller.
Very captivating. Anybody want to ask a question before we wrap up
Oh,
today?
I have one last question. It doesn't have to be that long of an answer, but what was your inspiration for making the orphanage,
The group home.
the group homes?
I always wanted to help kids change their life.
That's a good answer.
That was one of my missions. And I didn't know how to make it happen. So before I worked, when I left graduate school, I knew I was coming back to California, and I told Eleanor, let's get married and we'll go to California. I got job offers in Toronto and Ottawa. One with the federal government and one with in terms of doing research on prisons and stuff from the prison system. They wanted a research program,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the professors said I should do that. I knew this kid was not going to wear wingtips in the suit any time the rest of his life. If not Wally. So I said no. And then the same thing was to be a parole agent or work for John Howard Society, which is a private system for helping convicts. They're very conservative. I did a child welfare placement. And I really like group work rather than individual work. And all the agencies, well, that's another story, so I want to go back to the group home. I always wanted to help kids. And when I left California, when I left Toronto and came to California, I wanted to work with the people nobody else wanted. I wanted to work with the worst of the worst. And so, and the worst of the worst, in my mind, were the heroin addicts. They were like considered the scum of the earth.
Yeah, because people had written them off, like
Yeah.
their brains melted.
Yeah, right,
and
yeah. And
yeah.
families wrote them off, and society wrote them off,
Yeah.
and the hospitals wrote them off, and the mental health system wrote them off. They said, "Oh, we'll just leave them out there, and they'll want it fixed, and they'll just leave." You know, that's a shitty way to treat people. So that was my goal. And so I interviewed around for about a month and a half. Eleanor was getting pissed at me because I wouldn't get a job. and I was trying to figure out where to go, what I want to do. And finally I found out they had this new Department of Corrections had a new prison for just heroin addicts, and it was an innovative treatment program. So I applied, they hired me. One of my friends who later became a good friend worked there, Jack Dennis. They hired him. He worked in other prisons and then transferred and became a counselor from a sergeant. And he would tell people, well, some of us, the rest of us may be on probation when we get a job here, but Wally, he's different. He has us on probation.
That's funny. You were like the only volunteer
Yeah.
to work there.
Yeah, and he was saying he's deciding whether he's sticking around.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I worked there, and I had a great job. I loved my work there. And I did really strange things, and I had great success, and was considered the most successful of anybody who worked with heroin addicts in the Department of Corrections. When I worked there for 7 years. And then one of my friends there said, would you come to work with me in this adolescent treatment program part-time, like in the evenings or on Saturday? I said, sure. And it was all boys. So then I worked there. And then they said, we'd like to hire you full-time and run a program, a teenage program, 30 kids or something. And I said, sure, I'll do that. So that's when I moved to Elsinore, and that's where we were when
Okay.
Derek
You
was
guys were
little,
born,
and that's
yeah.
where Cindy was when she got born. And I ran this adolescent program. And then it was, I didn't like the owner, and I didn't like his ethics. So finally I left, and I went back to the prison system for a year. And then when I was back there, I was a training supervisor, and